Camera is shit because OBS hates me, and mic is shit because I left it up too loud. Sorry, y'all.
I need a break. I need a break. Jesus Christ, just fuck my life because I need a break. Holy shit. This is just water, by the way. I already had coffee this morning. I don't feel like I can, take tea right now. So yeah, it's just water in here. So I'm gonna be completely honest with you. Editing the fucking best anime video burned me the fuck out. And I was kind of joking when I tweeted out this shit isn't gonna be out by February, but it's like February 16th now, and the video got uploaded 2 days ago as of the time I'm recording this, and that really took a lot out of me. I know, as always, production-wise, it really doesn't look like much went into it, but if you've been following me on Twitter, you would know, life is pretty difficult right now. My grandfather is in the hospital because of a stroke, and I've been just trying to do my best to see him and spending more time with my family. So that's my excuse. Just family things is really draining me, and that kind of converted to my work. Work. So that's my excuse. So I just really don't want to focus on the videos that I've obligated myself to make. I don't want to think or write the Mob Psycho video because that's my favorite anime from last year, or To Your Eternity, my favorite comic, or I already started working on episode 1 of Vinland Saga, but I just don't really want to get back to that right now. Right now, I really want to make videos still, and that's what I mean when I say I need a break. I still want to make videos, but I more want to make videos on things that I'm going to have fun with and recharge myself so that I can have more creative energy and more fun when working on those videos. And I don't know how long that's going to take, but for now, this is more what I want to do. I just want to sit down, look into a camera, and talk and chill for a bit. So today we're talking about novels, aka books with words and no pictures. Who has heard of such a thing? What is this, 1990 fucking whatever? Jesus Christ. But here's the thing. Recently, I've just been reading more novels than I have comics. And, well, actually, no, I would say I'm reading about, the same amount of novels and comics. It takes me longer to work through a novel than it does a comic. But I would say that I'm just taking more pleasure in these than I am with this. And this is a light novel. I don't know why I picked that up. That just defeated my whole fucking purpose. And I feel like saying I'm taking more pleasure in, books over books is wrong. It's more that I find it more relaxing, and that's probably because when I read a comic, it's mostly for the purposes of this YouTube channel. I don't really feel like I allow myself the luxury of sitting down and catching up on old favorites when I can go to the library, find some audiobooks, find some novels, find a bunch of manga that I haven't read before, and sit down and read those and have a lot more fun with it because I don't feel obligated to talk about them later. If you follow me on Twitter, if you're in my Discord server, you will probably know that every once in a while I like to post pictures of my library hauls. I go to a really good library, very well funded, and they allow a 10 item checkout limit. So I go in and I think, okay, this is gonna be the trip where I only get 3 fucking books and I come out with the full 10 because I have no fucking control. And that's what I want to talk about today. I just want to sit down and recommend some of the reads that I went through last year so that hopefully you'll do them too, because I don't really have the chance to talk about novels all that much, and I guess that's because nobody really listens to me about them. I just feel like my personal taste in books is something that not a lot of my family enjoys. This is a comics and anime community, and I guess it just kind of feels like novels are something completely different, completely separate, and not many people will care about it. There are probably some people who watches these videos that are more interested in hearing about Doomsday Clock and Harleen than they are about some of the books I'm going to talk about in this video, and that's completely fine. We're all different. We all have our own taste. It's not like someone who's into comics and graphic novels can't be into novels, someone into light novels can't be into manga, blah blah blah. We all have our own taste. We all have our own preferences, and it's whatever. Just enjoy what you want to enjoy. Today, I just want to air out some of my thoughts on the books that I read last year, recommend them, and hopefully maybe you'll read them too. So let's just get started on this. So last year I started to read more classic literature. I never been one for the classics. Like, you know how you're in middle school and they're like, okay, you gotta read fucking Treasure Island and To Kill a Mockingbird and blah blah, and you were just so fucking bored because you were obligated to read. That shit really fucking killed my love for classic literature. I thought I would never ever enjoy classical novels, but this year I actually did, and my gateway through that was by reading classical children novels. I read The Secret Garden, The Little Princess, and Anne of Green Gables last year, and by going through those, and I really enjoyed those. I'm currently on the third Anne of Green Gables novels. I think it's called Anne in the House of Dreams. I haven't got into it yet. I just finished the first novel, and Anne of Avonlea. I always get the series so mixed up. It's Anne of Green Gables, Anne of Avonlea, Anne in the House of Dreams, and Anne of the Island. By the way, have you guys seen Anne with an E on Netflix? Because I watched season 1 and it's so fucking good. But anyway, I read some classical children's novels and I really enjoyed them. I would say out of the 3 that I mentioned, my favorite is probably Anne of Green Gables. I also really enjoyed The Little Princess. Secret Garden was alright. After finishing those, it kind of opened up the door to allow me to read more mature works. So I finally got to Orwell in either 2018, late 2018, or sometime in 2019. And I started out with Down and Out in Paris and London, which I thought was fan-fucking-tastic. It is a primary source of what it's like living in poverty in Paris and London during that time period. Don't ask me which time period, I forgot, it's been a while. But Orwell basically talks about being a penniless writer, and this was before he wrote Animal Farm in 1984. And him working as a waiter, living in the slums, and just working his way out of and navigating through poverty and building more of his philosophy so he can try and, you know, get out of that situation. And he would eventually go on to write some of his most influential work. The line in that book that makes it worth reading is probably everything the book has to say about money. There's a part where Orwell says, and I'm loosely quoting here, but he says that when you have money, your future is broad and vast in expense. You're allowed to do more things like live comfortably and travel because you have money in your pocket. But when you have no money, then the future is very limited and narrow, and you just have to just kind of keep going forward and work your way out of there. And as someone who, you know, I had a job that paid $15 an hour, but then I got so exhausted and I quit. When I had money in my pocket, it was like I was able to do so many more things. But after quitting, I started to live on my savings, and I still live with my parents, so I'm completely fine. But I also still want independence. I still buy things for myself. I still take care of my phone bill. I buy groceries every once in a while, and of course, I take care of my dog. But I'm just not allowed to do the things that I used to be able, I think I would do in the future, because I'm not working right now. I'm instead going to school so I can have another job. And I'm even considering working overtime at that job so I can have more money to do what I want to do, i.e. try to move out so I can be more creatively liberated and continue to make these videos. And I've also decided to no longer live in the States. I'm trying to move to Canada. Maybe I'll visit Mexico City for a few months, but first stop is Canada, then I'm gonna head to Australia after a year or two there. And I feel like I'm only able to do that with money. There's another part where he's talking to a friend of his, and I'm loosely quoting here, but I'm gonna throw up the actual quote on screen when I shut up so that you can, you know, see it in its full words, because I think it's a very powerful line. But he talks about how money is material, and all you have to do is think, I'm a free man up here and you'll be fine.
Real quick though, there's a doggo sleeping in the background, so sorry about this. If you set yourself to it, you can live the same life, rich or poor. You can keep with your books and your ideas. You just gotta say to yourself, I'm a free man in here. He tapped his forehead. and you're all right.
That was the part that got me just really early on in the book. As soon as they started to talk about poverty and money and material wealth, that was when I just stuck around for the entire ride, and I loved it. I thought it was fantastic, and I really, really want it on my shelf now. So I highly, highly recommend it. The second Orwell novel that I read last year and I absolutely adored was Animal Farm. I never really thought I would enjoy Animal Farm, but I got really, really sick, and because I was sick, I was stuck in bed and there was nothing I could do, so I went on YouTube and I found the audiobook for Animal Farm, and I fucking loved it. I have revisited Animal Farm probably 5 times since October to now because it is such a damn fine book. If you didn't know, Animal Farm is a satirical take on the rise of communism in Russia, and the animals are supposed to represent kind of the process that happened during the revolution. So you have Karl Marx, propaganda, industrialization, etc. Basically, in the book, the animals are tired of being under control of the farmers, so they decide to overthrow them, and after some time they are successful. Then they start to rule and govern themselves under the guidelines and pretense that all animals are equal and no animal will ever become or act like a human. The animals start to take care of themselves by plowing fields and harvesting, and pretty soon the idea comes up to build a windmill. This is basically the industrialization of Russia. Sorry, I had to let my history buff go out there. And you probably already know how the book ends because it's incredibly old, and yeah, you probably already know, but in case you don't, I'm not gonna spoil it, because if you didn't, I feel like you're probably gonna get more out of the ending, because I already did, and I was kind of shocked by the ending, but I feel like you'll get the full effect if you don't know what's going in. I think what Animal Farm surprised me the most with was how heartbreaking it is. There are just parts where I really connect with these characters like Boxer and even Major, even though he has a very limited part in the book. And going through this timeline and seeing how things change and how they thought things were going to be better, but they end up not going as planned, that kind of hurt. And it's also a reminder that, yeah, this is actually what happened, and this is how Russia got to where it is today, because communism fucking sucks. There's parts in this book that made me just really fucking angry too, like the character Squealer, who's supposed to represent propaganda, made my fucking blood boil. I could go on about this book all day, but I have limited camera battery, so I'm just going to leave it there. I would give Animal Farm probably a 9 out of 10. It's another book I really want on my shelf. So Animal Farm and Down and Out in Paris and London, definitely 10 out of 10 books in my recommendation. 2 more classical novels I want to talk about is Brave New World and The Great Gatsby. I'm going to start off with Brave New World because I feel like that's something that not a lot of people would enjoy. I listened to this in the car with my mom, and my mom kind of checked out of it, but I ended up really, really enjoying it. It's about a dystopian future where children are bred in labs and everyone is kind of young forever, but they also die, and they're conditioned to not be affected by death, to just take whoever they want because there are no relationships, just pure pleasure. There are giant orgies that are induced by drugs, and there are other factors of life that people are conditioned to at birth in labs, so that there's no sadness, no pain, no nothing. It's just happiness all the time, and you're not supposed to feel your emotions. Like, as soon as you're born out of a test tube, your life is already decided for you. People are class, basically, and if you go outside of your class, you're probably gonna go insane. So there's 2 main characters, one who is a civilized woman and the other who is no longer believing in this notion of civilization. They go to a savage reservation that's, of course, talking about Native Americans, but in the book during this time, Native Americans were unfortunately known as savages. Oh god, we come a long way. So they go to this reservation because civilized people, they visit savage reservations as holidays, and they meet a savage who was actually supposed to be a part of their society, but he was born a natural birth because his mother, who was visiting the reservation during holiday, got left behind. So he grew up as an outcast, kind of in between worlds, not knowing where he belongs, and when he meets the main characters, he's super excited to go and see the place where he was essentially supposed to live and be a part of that world. Again, I don't really think Brave New World is a novel for everyone, and I do think it's going to turn a lot of people off. It's probably because a lot of people will find it particularly boring, or at least that's how my mom felt about it. She thought it was pretty boring. Meanwhile, I was pretty fascinated by the book. I heard once that the author of Brave New World actually wanted the events in the book to come true, but the Brave New World is a dystopian novel, but what makes it so good is that it has a sound argument for its dystopia. It says, yeah, nobody has a relationship, nobody has children, people are born in labs, you just take whoever you want, you're drugged up all the time, and everything is amazing. The economy is great, no one is sick, and we're all happy all the goddamn time. But then you have the character John, the savage, who argues for basically the life we have now, and the book fires back by saying, you're wrong, I'm right, fuck you. And then John goes off and he tries to live his life, but you know how it ends. I just really don't know how to recommend it. Like, if you don't like that premise, and if you don't think that what the book proposes as a sound argument for dystopia is something that you would enjoy, then you're probably not gonna like it, you're probably not gonna read it, and that is fine. Sorry, I'm checking to see if we're still recording. We are. But for me, I really enjoyed it. It was pretty solid. That's another book I want on my shelf. I would give it probably a 7.5 out of 10 because of anything. The first part of the book I don't care about. Is when John comes in and everything after it. That's what I really came for. So yeah, probably a 7.5 out of 10. But let me tell you, I'm so fucking glad I finally got to The Great Gatsby. I loved The Great Gatsby. That is just 9 out of 10 fucking book there. And you know, I saw, of course, the movie before reading the book. I saw the movie in theaters, and I finally got to the book last year, and let me tell you, I fucking love that book. You know, I probably don't even have to explain it, because you probably more than likely already saw the movie, and the movie is great. I love the movie. Leonardo DiCaprio is amazing, and the movie adaptation of the book is extremely solid. But I think I remember the book over the movie, but that's probably because it's been a while since I've seen it. So just put it simply, I love this book because it is about a man who is so incredibly lonely and depressed that he does anything and everything to appease other people. And when the key to his depression is at his doorstep, he cowers and runs away, but then, you know, he actually does go to her and give her a chance, and all of a sudden it's like everything's gonna be okay, everything's gonna be all right, and finally he probably has the life that he wants in his grasp, but greed and selfishness and ignorance just ruins life. And this lonely man who kind of doesn't deserve what he has in his life, but at the same time really works hard for it, his life is just a giant tragedy, and it's told through the eyes of the only friend that he ever had. I just love it. I love it so much. I just love how despairing it is, and I also love how lonely it is. And you know, again, I can see how it's another book that not many people are going to enjoy, and maybe you'll like the movie better, and that's fine. Let me tell you, the movie's awesome. I really fucking love that movie. But for me, The Great Gatsby is like a total 9 out of 10. I adore that book. I want to read it again so bad. It's so fucking good. So here are 2 reads that I recently finished. I got these from my latest library haul. It is Eleanor, Oliphant is Completely Fine, and Cujo by Stephen King. So I'm gonna start off with Cujo because there's more of a story behind Eleanor, Oliphant, but you probably already heard of Cujo. It's an older book, it got a movie, Stephen King, blah blah blah. I basically picked this up because it reminds me of my own dog, Jewel, and I'm not saying Jewel is Cujo, that's the last thing she is, but I like to joke around that people will see her and they immediately think that she's some big ass Cujo motherfucker, when in reality, Jewel will not hurt a goddamn fly. She has never bitten anyone and she's 9 years old. So I picked this up because A, I wanted to read more Stephen King, and B, Cujo just reminds me of how people view my dog because of her breed, and she's the sweetest thing in the world, and God, she's never gonna turn into a Cujo because she actually had her goddamn shots. Cujo, I had fun with, I enjoyed it. I think it's a fine book, and you can't go wrong picking it up and reading it. Stephen King is a horror writer, and honestly, horror literature doesn't really get to me. It doesn't make me very tense or uncomfortable. My favorite Stephen King book is Carrie, by the way. I love Carrie. I love the movie too. The movie is awesome. Cujo, I'm just gonna give a 6 out of 10 right off the back. The book is basically told from multiple perspectives. You have the child character Tad, who I fucking hate because he's an annoying ass brat. Mommy, the dog is gonna bite me. Mommy, I'm so scared. Mommy, mommy. God damn it. Shut the fuck up, you piece of fucking shit. The book is also told through the eyes of Tad's parents, who are currently going through some marital issues, the family who owns Cujo, who are also going through some issues of their own, one-off side characters, and this absolute fucking asshole called Steve Kemp, who I kind of love because he's a giant dick, but at the same time, he's a fucking asshole. And the book is also told from Cujo's perspective, which I was not expecting, but there we go. So in case you don't know what Cujo is, it's basically about a dog getting rabies and then he fucks shit up, and it's fucking awesome. Okay, but in all seriousness, Cujo is a 200-pound Saint Bernard who's owned by a family of 3, a mother, father, and son. And this family is basically considered to be, and I really, really hate this phrase, poor white trash. But the father of the family, whose name escapes me right now, he fixes cars for a living, and Donna, Vic, and Tad go to him because Donna drives a Pinto, and if you know anything about the history of this car, you already know where this is going, and they ask for the father to fix the car. They meet Cujo, who is just a adorable dog who does not hurt anything. The dog is so friendly, in fact, that they don't even tie him up because they trust him to not hurt anyone. He's just a big, lovable, huggable teddy bear. Like, as soon as he and Tad meets, and Tad is like this 6-year-old boy, they are just instantly friends. But Cujo also never had his goddamn rabies shot, so one day he's hunting down a rabbit, the rabbit fucking bites him, and Cujo goes rabbit, and then he goes around and fucks shit up. So Donna and Tad go to the farm where Cujo's family lives. The dad's dead, the mom and the son are out of town, and the Pinto, because it's a Pinto, fucks up, and Donna and Tad are trapped in a fucking car, and Cujo's just circling around them like, I'm gonna motherfucking get you, you sons of bitches, you come out of that fucking car and I'm gonna eat your ass. It is so fucking funny. Oh, and also Vic is out of town because he's in advertising. Again, it's a fun book, it's a fine book. I just picked it up because I wanted to read more Stephen King, because I love Carrie, that's one of my favorite books ever, and I was listening to him talking out of college on YouTube, and he explained the story behind Cujo, which is what made me pick up the book. Basically, the inspiration for Cujo came from him meeting a man and this giant dog, and the dog looked super intimidating, but the man said, oh, it's okay, he's friendly, go ahead and pet him. And King reached down and tried to pet the dog, but the dog growled at him and he got back, and the dog's owner said, well, I guess he doesn't like you that much. That's such an awesome fucking story. I recommend it if that sounds like something you're into, so just give it a shot. Okay, Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. Here is the story behind this one. I picked this up with my same haul that I got Cujo in, and this year I decided to kind of broaden my reading horizons more. I felt like my reading got kind of stagnant because I was constantly going around and reading the same thing, so I wanted to try something new and different. So I went to the librarian and I told her exactly that. I told her that I wanted to try something new, and she went through and she gave me 2 recommendations. The first one was Eat, Pray, Love, because she asked me, you know, what do I like? And I said travel, cooking, chefs like Anthony Bourdain and Mary Berry and Alton Brown and blah blah blah, and she recommended me Eat, Pray, Love. And I was going to get it, and I was thinking about getting it the next time I went to the library, but I feel like it's too soon for me to read that book because I plan on leaving America next year and living in Canada or living in New Mexico for a few months to practice my Spanish before then. And I should probably read it before I go or after I'm gone because it just feels like the right time, as the book is based on a true story. It's about the author leaving home and rediscovering herself by traveling, and I intend to finally start my life by leaving the States and hopefully never coming back. So reading it before I go just feels off to me. So I picked up this one, and I had no idea what I was getting into, but I ended up really fucking liking it. I would have to give it a 7 out of 10 and a shit ton of trigger warnings. I cannot wholeheartedly recommend that book. It is disturbing and uncomfortable and anger-inducing. And let me tell you, the title is Eleanor Oliphant is completely fine. Spoiler alert, no she's not. So I'm gonna give you some of those trigger warnings off the top of my head. There is child abuse, there's verbal abuse, sexual assault, physical abuse, and more. So if any of those things are triggering to you, if you cannot handle those, then please move on. I'm gonna put a timestamp to the next book because again, this book is very uncomfortable and very disturbing. But for those of you who think you can handle it, then here's what this is about. So Eleanor Oliphant is a very disturbed character. She's very lonely and she doesn't know it. She's very rude and she doesn't know it. She's a downright Karen and I fucking hated her at times. She's also pretty mentally disturbed and she doesn't know it. All she knows is that she was pretty fine with her routine life. Go to your shitty low-paid job, eat pizza, stay out of the spotlight, and drink vodka on Fridays because vodka makes her feel good and numbs away the pain. But one day she sees a man, and this man is so handsome. He's so elegant because only sophisticated men wear suit jackets and leave the bottom button unbuttoned. And she says, that's the man of my dreams. This is going to be my husband and I'm going to get him. It is hard for me to talk about this book, man. It really is. I don't know where to go outside of there because that's all my librarian told me about it. And it seemed like she read the book as well. And I'm really glad she left me in the dark because when starting this book, the character of Eleanor was so annoying and aggravating to me. I wanted to just stop listening to it, but at the same time, the book drops these hints about her life and what she's been through that I want to keep going and give her the benefit of the doubt because she is a disturbed person, and that's the best way I can do it. She is a hurting person who doesn't know that she's hurting, and when she meets this man, you know right off the bat that this is not gonna happen, it's not gonna end well, but the tactics that she takes is completely unrealistic, and no normal person would do this for someone that they don't know and have never spoken to. It's hard. It's pretty fucking difficult to read and get through, but I did it, and I'm really glad that I did. This is just so solid. Just a really solid 7 out of 10 because the author doesn't tell us much in the beginning. She just tells us enough. And right off the bat, you know who this character is, you know what she's been through, and you know what's going through her head for her to act this way. And I'm just gonna do what my librarian did and just stop right there. It's really fucking difficult and it's really fucking hard, but if you think you can get through it, definitely read it because I was so glad when I finished it and I really want to read it again. So if I can, this is something else I want on my bookshelf one day, just not right now because I need to recover from that. Okay, so I was thinking about not talking about things that I didn't enjoy, but hopefully you can enjoy this better than I did. Can you see that? Okay, you kind of can. Well, you can see it better from over here. So hopefully you enjoy this better than I did. I got halfway through iRobot and I am now ready to donate this. I just don't like sci-fi, man. I don't. I really thought I was going to really like this book. And oh my god, my books are falling. Give me a minute. Fuck. Shit. Bitch. There you go. I really thought I was gonna like iRobot. I really tried to get through it. And you know, I really enjoyed the first third of the book. The first story immediately had me, and then you go into these other stories about humans and robots coexisting, and I was like, oh shit, a sci-fi book that I can finally enjoy. And then it went downhill. I don't know. I'm just not into sci-fi. I dropped Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm not sorry for that. I just did not really like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Oh, I read Clockwork Orange. I just remember I read Clockwork Orange. I love it. 10 out of 10. Go read Clockwork Orange. Watch the movie too. But I'm going to quickly keep it brief on iRobot because there's another science book that I want to get to. It's just my taste, man. Oh, hi, Jewel. Hello, can you sit down, please? Because I'm recording. Please sit down, I'm recording and you cannot get out. It's just my taste. I'm just not that into sci-fi, and I really thought I was going to There's a tail wagging. I'm gonna have to let the dog out of the room. I'm not that into sci-fi. Hopefully you'll be into this book better than I did, because again, not a sci-fi person, and I thought I was gonna like it because it seemed more of a science fact book, but it just lost me after a while. So yeah, I'm donating that. I didn't really enjoy it, but hopefully someone else will. But the science fact book that I enjoy, because I'm not into science fiction, I'm more into science fact, was Artemis by Andy Weir. So if that name sounds familiar to you, Andy Weir is the writer of The Martian, the novel that got turned into the movie back in 2015. Love that movie, haven't read the book. And if you're a fan of the YouTube channel Course Kids Art, hope I probably didn't say that right, but he also wrote a short story called The Egg, which the team animated, and that is a fantastic video. Please go watch it. I'll link it in the description below. Artemis is about going to the moon and staying there. It actually takes place years after we've established our settlement on the moon, and it follows a main character named Jazz, who is a fuck up, and she totally admits that she's a fuck up. Jazz is a person that I've heard a lot of people say they weren't exactly very fond of when reading the book, but personally I loved her. So maybe if you don't like Jazz, you're probably not gonna like this book that much, because some of the characters in Artemis aren't as strongly written as The Martian. But anyway, Jazz is a person who is smart as hell, very intelligent young woman, but she completely admits that she's made a lot of fuck ups in life, and because of that she's living in one of the more lower class neighborhoods on Artemis, and she is really fucking sick and tired of it. She works as a smuggler to try and get some extra cash, but her goal in life is to be rich, and she completely admits all of this, by the way. And one day that meal ticket is handed to her, and of course she accepts, but the meal ticket goes wrong, and now we have a fucking heist story on the goddamn moon, and it is amazing. So the reason why I